So now that I've got wheels on this bandsaw, the next thing I need to do is figure out how to power it. So the motor is going to go here, and there's going to be a belt that goes around the back of the lower wheel, and that powers the bandsaw. Now the logical thing to do would be to use a motor like this. This is a 1 horsepower 3500 RPM motor, and just put a really small V-belt pulley on there so that I get about the right speed, and then the V-belt runs around that and runs in a groove around the back of the wheel. That's what I did for my other bandsaw, and it's worked out really well, but for this one I want to experiment with using a flat belt. The reason I want to use a flat belt is because with a V-belt running around a very small pulley, there's an awful lot of bending and unbending and wedging the belt in and out of the pulley, which uses up a fair amount of energy, and I want to avoid that. So I want maximum power left over for my bandsaw. So I've made a flat belt pulley with some flanges on it for this old motor that I trash picked, and for the flat belt for the time being I'm going to use this old timing belt. This is from a Honda Civic, I think, and just flip it inside out, and I basically have a flat belt to run on this pulley. And this is a crown pulley, so if I get it just right I should be able to keep this on center. Now I'll probably get a slightly narrower belt once I finish this up, but for now I just want to make sure I can get this working using this timing belt. This motor that I'm using is actually an old pool pump motor that I picked out of the garbage, and I needed to fix it, and it was also running the wrong direction, and on the label it says that it's not reversible, but I managed to reverse it anyways. And it's only got a 1/2 inch shaft, and this is just held on by being rammed on there. It'll slip sometimes, so maybe I'll have to varnish the inside of the hole to make that pulley tight. We'll see. Now, this pool pump motor is not ideal. For one thing, it runs at 3600 RPM. For another, it only has mounting facilities on the front, which I couldn't use, so I built this bracket to hold the motor, and these things are actually cove cuts here to match the curvature of the motor, and then a couple of hose clamps hold it on there, and it's nicely wedged in between those pieces, so that really holds it in place. So far so good. I made a large pulley that's attached to the back of the bottom wheel, and that has a crown on it, as you can see here, which will help the flat belt stay on center, because a flat belt will always climb to the highest point on the pulley. And there's a bit of a flange here, so that if the belt slips and hits the flange, it's not going to start chewing into the inner tube tire on the wheel. So I managed to get this belt to track exactly between the flanges if I turn it forward, but it's all very tweaky, because now if I turn it backwards, it tracks the other way around. So what's happening is this motor is not quite parallel, and I need to just adjust the axis a bit. Flat belt tracking does require a lot of precision. I really recommend, if you build a bandsaw, don't use a flat belt, use a V-belt, because the V-belt is just much easier to get to work. So let's plug her in. Well, no disaster yet. So I've put the blade on, and I put a fair bit of tension on it, so you can kind of hear it pluck like a guitar string. and that has the possibility of moving the alignment of the bottom pulley a little bit. So the interesting thing will be, how will this work when I turn this on again? Well, still no disaster, so I think I'll keep that flat belt for now. Now, before you think it has to be this complicated, a V-belt here, which is what I used on my previous bandsaw, is really easy to set up and is not sensitive to alignment. And this one has served me quite well. I've been using it a lot over the past year, and it runs rather smooth.